So today we have several prepared questions to ask the panelists, but attendees are more than welcome to enter their questions in the chat box, and time permitting, we'll do our best to answer them. On our distinguished panel today, we have Dr. Linda Liao, Chair of Neurosurgery at UCLA, Dr. Stephen Giannotta, Chair of Neurosurgery at USC, Dr. Frank Su, Chair of Neurosurgery at UCI, and Dr. Michael Lim, incoming Chair of Neurosurgery at Stanford. And finally, we have Dr. William Taylor, Neurosurgery Residency Program Director at UCSD. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. Our first question is, what has been a common theme in applicants who are highly ranked or matched at programs where they completed a sub-internship, and what set them apart during the sub-internship? If any of you want to just take the first stab at it, you can go ahead.
I don't hear anybody.
I can go ahead for UCSD. It's perfectly fine. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much to the directors. For us at UCSD, we really strongly listen to the relationships that people develop with other medical students, colleagues, and their performance during that rotation. We certainly feel strongly that this is something where you have to get along with your colleagues. You have to know them well, and you're going to be living with them and working with them. It's not something in which you look at this as I'm going to put in my time and then I'll be done. It's a lifestyle, and certainly if someone enjoys working with you and fits in well into the program, that becomes very important. It's not the only thing, of course, that we look at, but for people that are coming in doing a rotation, which is certainly difficult now in the COVID times, we really feel strongly that relationships that you can build or that you can expand on even after you're gone, and interest in the particular program is very important.
I would echo that, and also say that at our program at USC, there has one unique aspect of it, and that is the County General Hospital experience, which offers a lot of autonomy early on in the residency, and so our residents are very cognizant of what they want to see in a colleague, and in terms of being able to quickly blend in with the team and quickly assume some element of responsibility is another key factor that we watch for.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. I think the kind of important thing is fit. Each program is a little bit different in terms of its kind of characteristics and what it has to offer, and I think matching people with the right fit to your program is very important. And then also, I think another thing we look for, and I personally look for, are students and sub-Is who take initiative, who actually are eager to learn and want to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available. So people with strong initiative, good fit, and then all the things that Dr. Giannotta talked about in his talk, just having the aptitude to be in neurosurgery in the long term.
Sorry, I joined in a little late. I agree also with what everybody said. I mean, I think, remember, it's 7 years. It's like a marriage, right? So we want to make sure that first and foremost, personalities match, and we want to make sure that also remember, this is neurosurgery, and so when we watch people, we also want to train surgeons. And I think in this world today, sometimes when you go through the whole application process, people are so worried about publications and other activities that we still want to, and I think it's important for the applicants to also remember, you have to love being in the operating room and operating. And we want to see that. And surgery is certainly a team effort. And so we want to also see people who enjoy and like being in a team.
Great. Thank you so much, doctors, for those very informative comments. Does anyone have anything else to add to that? If not, we can move on to the next question. All right, so the next question is for matched applicants who are not known entities prior to applying, meaning that they weren't known to the program or had not completed a sub-internship. How do programs determine fit, and what aspect of their application or interview made them stand out?
I guess I'm going to go first again. I'm happy to move to the end of the line, but when people come in that you haven't met before, sometimes there's a linear quality to the applicants that fits very well with your program. So a specific area of interest that they have that is dovetails with a specific interest or a particularly strong area in the program, I think is a very good way to look at someone that we match quickly, or we're very interested in matching from their application. And as everyone said, it's not something which you can just think of one particular area. You're certainly going to train surgeons, and so publications and all the other things help, but that fit for the program and the way people look at it. In some ways, when I was looking at the questions, my thoughts went to these are sort of how can applicants get their applications as good as possible or match with the program. And I would turn it around and say, I think also you have to look at the applicants when they come in. They really feel like they fit there and they feel like this is someplace that they want to be. To my mind, that's just as important with the unmatched applicant that comes in to talk to us.
I think it's important to consider how your interview process is set up. It's got to be set up to identify those candidates that you're talking about, namely those that didn't do sub-Is. And in order to maximize the yield, it's important that during their interview process that they're put in front of as many of the existing residents in the training program as possible. How you do that is individual to each program, but we make sure that while the applicants are there, we have 3 sessions, probably 20 people per session. So on that day, our residents are encouraged to come over and intermingle with the applicants during that day. Obviously, to start to get a sense for fit, personality, etc. We have as many faculty as we possibly can interview the people in depth, and we have the existing PGY7 residents interview each of the candidates in depth, obviously with their advanced knowledge of the training program and the culture. And then finally, after the session is over, everybody's had their interview, the 5th-year residents take all the applicants out to dinner, and there may be something else served besides food at dinner. And this actually of fit and personality and professionalism and so forth. So that's I think that's there's kind of a formula for this for us, and this has served us in good stead over the years. Do we ever make a poor choice? Yeah, every once in a while, but it seems to be able to identify some people that fit well with our residents.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think during the interview process, there's the formal interviews as well as kind of the informal interactions that you have with the faculty and the residents and staff that are important to kind of keep in mind. And also, I think, you know, at your individual medical schools, it's good to identify who your mentors and role models are. And they can help you figure out what the right fit is, because you know, we have residents, but we also have medical students that we mentor, and we try to, you know, do what's best for them as well. And oftentimes they will know which program, would be best for you. So I think it's important to talk to your advisors at the medical school. And sometimes, oftentimes we reach out on behalf of the medical students, because there are certain programs that I know, certain students would be a good fit for, and certain students wouldn't be. And that's so it's important to talk to your advisors. And I assume you're interested in neurosurgery because of some experience you've had in medical school. So that's important to kind of foster those relationships.
So yeah, again, I echo what everybody said. I mean, I think the interview process is different for every institution in some ways, but there's a lot of similarities. I think the important thing to recognize is, when you interview, all the faculties, usually the faculties in each of these departments in the different hospitals, everybody has different emphasis and different values and what they think is important, right? So, for example, in our institution, there are some people that are very obsessed about the academic productivity. Others feel very, very strongly that we produce the best surgeons as possible and best clinicians. And there are others in our department that, are also very focused very much on personality and making sure it's a personality fit, because they feel that once you make it to the interview process, you've met that mark for academics and your grades in medical school. So, a lot of it is we personally think, at our institution, if you make the cut for the interview, then you kind of met some of these baseline metrics, and it's really, trying to fit. And remember, you're also interviewing, and you want to make sure that you go to the place that you feel matches with you. So, as you go through these different applications, you should also really learn about the department and learn about the faculty. And I think in that process, doing your homework to make sure that you're best prepared is important.
Great, thank you all so much for your input. Just to elaborate on that a little bit, we have a few questions in the chat that I wanted to bring up. Because this year things have obviously been switched up quite a bit with COVID-19, some of the students are wondering how you would recommend that students that are interested in programs far from home could further demonstrate their interest in this setting without having been able to complete the sub-internships that they have, that they were expected to complete, in addition to the input that you have already brought up, and how they could further maximize the interviewing process in this context.
I can address some of that. This is Frank Su from UC Irvine. So some of our residents are aware of this, and they're really eager to kind of showcase our program. And I asked them to work on vignettes or video clips of kind of a day in their life to show what they do and what kind of cases they do, how they're interacting with each other inside and outside of the hospital, and how they learn from the attendings. So we're working on some short video clips, and I think there may be a centralized process to have programs or have some kind of video links to show off their program. And residents also want to help out in communicating with future applicants. They will make themselves available. It will be on the website, and you can kind of email them, call them to get the real scoop. And it's always good to talk to the residents directly. They will give you kind of the real story of what a program is like, and so. So we understand there's a constraint because of COVID, and we're all getting used to this type of meeting. We're kind of zoomed out and Zoom fatigue already. A lot of us are on Zoom meetings all day long. So, and I'm sure the next generation is much better in technology than than us in how to communicate through this technology. So I think in some sense this could be better. That allows you to look at more programs and communicate with more people online before you even get to the place. So get a better sense of what a program's like. So there are ways around that. And we just did our graduation yesterday on Zoom. It was quite an experience, you know. A lot more people could attend, and it was a lot cheaper to do. So there's some benefits of all this COVID stuff.
Yeah, I would echo that. And actually, this session right now is for that purpose, to really kind of have the medical students and future applicants talk to the residents and you know, department chairs and program directors of our departments and ask these questions, so you get a sense of, you know, what the programs are like. And I think a lot of this would come from, you know, direct interactions with the residents themselves, currently via Zoom, but you know, I think certainly that helps. And then, as I was mentioning before, since this year medical students and sub-Is aren't able to travel to other programs, your faculty in your programs, you know, I mean, neurosurgery overall is a relatively small community, so the faculty within your programs know the faculty in other programs, and you know, I think like has been said before, do your homework, find out, you know, more about the programs that you're interested in, and then you know, have people, you know, reach out on your behalf.
Thanks, Dr. Liao.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think if you look at it, there are some positives to this, in the sense that accessibility is probably going to be easier. I think most of the programs, we've all kind of have geared up mechanisms for people to reach out, and there will be, as Dr. Liao mentioned and Dr. Su mentioned, you know, designated groups of residents at each institution that are really going to be available to field questions. And remember, those conversations can help give you ideas on what you may need, because, you know, as we said before, each institution has their own personality, and whether it's having additional phone calls, perhaps meeting additional residents, those are all avenues that are going to be easier than, you know, pre-COVID areas.
Yeah, I certainly agree with everything that's been said. I would also just tell there are some applicants out there, although rare, who do not have home neurosurgery programs. And in fact, the University of California has made some special dispensations for people that don't have a home program. So if you don't have a home program and you're still interested, I would look at the restrictions, and I think those will be eased a little bit as time moves forward. So you may have the opportunity to meet people if you don't have a home program.
And one thing I've heard, this has to do with a letter of recommendation. You know, before, when you were able to do sub-Is at some big places, you get letters from some big name neurosurgeons, and those are important references. And now, if you can't do sub-I, so you have to focus on your own program. And it was recommended that you get letters from other specialties as well. If you can't do neurosurgery and you don't have outside neurosurgery letters, you can get letters from neurology, you know, ophthalmology, general surgery within your own institution. And those letters will mean a lot more this year than in the previous years.
I see. Thank you, Dr. Su. That's a very good point to bring up. And actually, just to follow up on that, we have a question with regards to letters of recommendation. How should applicants approach letters of recommendation in terms of who to request a letter from and how to garner strong letters?
Well, I'll start there. I think letters need to come from people who really know you. You know, having a letter from someone with a big name that doesn't really know you. Kind of a generic letter really doesn't tell us a whole lot, other than you got someone's signature on the letter. So, so I think that that's really, I mean, fundamentally, you know, what I look for, how well the person, you know, knows you and what's said in that letter.
Completely agree with Linda. We want to see detail in that letter, and you may get the chairman of the training program to write you something. But if you get someone who knows you and knows your work product and is able to articulate that and convince people that he or she thinks that you are a prime candidate and list all the reasons why, that is a much more powerful letter. And as far as getting a powerful letter, that's simple. Have a good performance and you'll get a good letter.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, the details that someone puts in a letter for when they have a real knowledge of that person, that's very easy to see very quickly. And I think much more important than getting a letter from someone with a name or from some training program.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think especially in with the way the match is going to go this year, this is probably going to give us, as a program, really some of our best insight into you. So, you know, whether you worked with a junior professor who, you know, you did research with over the years, that letter may actually be more important than the chairman's letter this year.
Great. Thank you all for your, that's very helpful input. And I think we probably have time for a couple more questions. We have here, what are some ways medical students can get involved in their school's home institution neurosurgery program so that they can be competitive for matching at their home institution if that's what they so desire?
I encourage them to kind of start showing up to all the educational activities. You know, for example, we have a Friday educational day, and the students here are really organized. They actually have a AANS chapter for journal club that's monthly, and sometimes we're like, again, you know, another journal club, but the students are really eager, so we feel like we're obligated and to show up, and I show up to all of them. And I encourage them to start showing up to our grand rounds. And now it's actually even easier. They can jump on the Zoom and attend our grand rounds without being in person. And start writing case report, find the residents. And if you want to go to your home institution, it's really important to get to know the residents because they're going to be your co-workers for the next 7 years. You're going to basically be married to them. So you have to make sure they like you, you like them, and this is some relationship that's going to last. And then, you know, approach the attendings to ask them what projects that they're working on. Can I help with anything? You know, do a database, search the literature, and start writing some simple stuff that's accomplishable within a short period of time, and then if you're really interested, get on the bigger projects.
Frank brings up a good point. If your institution has a student interest group in either the neurosciences or neurosurgery, join it. And if it doesn't, then try to start one. And all you need is a willing faculty member and some ingenuity and leadership on your part, which, by the way, will help burnish your resume someday. But you'll be surprised. In fact, I'm very surprised how many people belong to the neurosurgical interest group at USC. Clearly, not all of those people will end up in the neurosurgical match or in the residency, but still in all, it gives them an intro to the clinical neurosciences, and it makes allies out of people that end up in the clinical neurosciences. But that's an excellent way to express your interest in at least your local program.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, we have a neuroscience interest, neurosurgery interest group that Isaac Yang heads up, and you know, it's a great way to get involved early on in medical school, and also to find out if neurosurgery is not for you. You know, so I think that's a good way to get involved, and also, you know, get involved in projects, you know, papers, all that. I think I agree. I certainly agree with. And then during the rotations, I think, you know, do the same thing you would do if it were an away sub-I, you know, work hard, take initiative, you know, get along well with everybody. Those are just, you know, kind of important things to keep in mind. And for us, I think actually this year, because, you know, our medical students aren't able to go to other institutions, we're creating you know, another sub-I experience at our Harbor General Hospital, you know, our county hospital, that we actually didn't have for sub-Is prior to this. So in a way, it kind of instigated you know, an additional rotation for us, whereby, you know, we could get to know our medical students better. And this may be actually something we'll continue, you know, going forward even after this year. But I think, yeah, just, you know, get involved and show up.
I would say, looking back at the residents that we've selected from the home institution, each one of them were intimately involved. They came to rounds, they got to know everybody. They started working, just as Frank said, on simple projects and something. It's very easy for people to publish things today. And if you don't get involved, then there's really very little chance, I think, that you're going to be looked at favorably when you go to interview. So it's just absolutely mandatory.
Yeah, I would agree. I think FaceTime is very important. It's a two-way street, because you definitely want to know and that this is the right choice for you. And I think with research, the one thing you should also remember is that you need to finish it, right? So we've seen some students come through and they've accepted 5 or 6 projects and they can't finish any of them, and that could actually hurt you. So I think you also want to be selective on the projects you choose, and you want to finish it. And it doesn't always mean a publication. Sometimes you get a negative result, but the letter will reflect that. So just also be careful about saying yes to everything. Find something that you find really interesting and carry that project to completion.
Yeah, I want to echo that, you know, what Dr. Lim said, you know, as well. I think having a lot of projects with low impact is actually less impressive than something with higher, you know, higher impact. I'm not necessarily talking about just publications, but something that actually resulted in completion of something that's you know, impactful, and kind of dabbling a little bit here and there in you know, 100 different projects, with a lot of these, you know, in progress on your CV, rather than, you know, published or completed. I think that actually detracts from the application.
Great, thank you all so much for all that very helpful input.
Hey everyone, Ryan Rad here from neurosurgerytraining.org. If you like that video, subscribe and donate to keep our content available for medical students across the world.